Today we're in section 3.5, solving inequalities using multiplication and division. It's pretty much the exact same method of solving as we did with equations. There's only one exception, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Alright, so looking at example 1, I want you to go ahead and write down the inequality. M over 3 is greater than 3. So if I need to solve for m, I need to multiply m over 3, that's division, so I need to do opposite operation. Okay, and do I just multiply by whatever number I think? No. How do I know what to multiply by?
The denominator.
Whatever's in the denominator. So multiply by 3 over 1, both sides. And m is greater than 9. Okay, and now I just graph my solution like I normally do. 9 goes in the middle. What two numbers go to the left?
10,
Very good. 8 and 7, and then what goes on the right?
10, 11.
10 and 11. Would I have an open dot or a closed dot?
Open dot.
Open dot, left or right?
Right.
I'm going right because it's greater than. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. If you understood solving equations, you should understand solving inequalities because it's the same thing. Now, the only exception is when there's a negative attached to your variable. So on B, what do I need to multiply both sides by?
-5.
I have to multiply by -5. And since 5 is a negative, I have to reverse my inequality. I'd still multiply both sides by -5, but because I had to multiply by a negative to get my variable by itself, I'm now, instead of a less than sign, going to have a greater than sign. M is greater than -50. That's my answer, and then I graph my solution just like I normally do. Alright, so the only difference here is if there's a negative attached to my variable, then I cannot write a straight line. If there's a negative attached to my variable, then I have to switch my inequality. -50, what two numbers go to the left? -51 and -52, -49 and -48. Alright, open dot, and it's going right. So now on C, I want you to look at C with me for a second. Look at C. Okay, what do I have to multiply by to get C by itself?
10.
I have to multiply by 10. Is 10 negative?
No.
Okay, so I don't reverse my inequality. Even though 7 is negative, that doesn't matter. If what I have to multiply to get my variable by itself is negative, that's when I switch my inequality. Does that make sense? So it doesn't matter that 7's negative. That doesn't affect my inequality. Only what's connected to my variable. So my answer is C is less than or equal to -70. And now I can graph it on my number line. -70 goes in the middle, -71, -72, -69, and -68. Alright, close dot on the 70, and it's gone left. Alright, moving on to example 2. In example 2, now I'm just solving an inequality when I have to divide. Alright, so on 2a, what do I have to divide by? I have to divide by -10. Since I have to divide by -10, what happens to my inequality? I do have to reverse it. I had to divide by a negative. So now, let me ask you this. Even or odd number of negatives that I'm dividing? There's an odd. There's only one negative, so that means my answer is negative. So don't forget, your answer is supposed to be -3.4. Now, I had a couple people ask me last hour. They wanted to do -3.4 and -3.3. They wanted to do it by tenths. That's fine. I don't really see the point in that. I think that going by whole numbers is a little easier. 2.4 and -1.4. I don't mind if you do it by tenths, though. It's just your preference. That's fine. We'll leave that up to your preference. What I do care about is this an open dot or a closed dot?
It is closed.
It's a closed dot. And which way is your arrow going?
Left.
To the left. And if you reverse your inequality right, you should get that right. If you're trying to go off the original, you'll get it wrong. All right, go ahead and try B and C on your own. Okay, so divide both sides by 12. Do I have to reverse my inequality? Is there any reason to? No, there's not. I didn't divide by a negative. Opened out on the 3, going left. Divide both sides by 5 on C, and I get 3.4 again, ironically, because at this time it's positive. Open dot going right. Did you get B and C? Did you get them both?
Yeah.
Did you get them both? Sorry, I forgot to unfreeze the screen. Okay, did you get them both, guys?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Okay, so now let's do the checkpoint, numbers 1 through 4, on page 145. 145. All right, here we go. The first one, what's your answer? N is greater than 42. So 42, arrows going right, open dot. What about B? What happens to your inequality?
Negative 32.
It is greater than or equal to negative 32. Who got that right? Who got it right? Did you switch it?
Yes.
Okay. T is greater than or equal to negative 32. You have to switch because you had to multiply by a negative to get T by itself. You had to multiply by negative 4. All right, so what about C? What's the answer to C? X is greater than negative 4. Say the whole thing. All right, what about D? It's going to be S is greater than or equal to negative 2. All right, Joseph, explain to me why I had to switch my inequality.
Because negative 7 is part of the variable.
Very good. Negative 7 is attached to my variable. That's a negative, so I have to reverse my inequality. All right, now in example 3. In example 3, it gives me a geese example. All right, so let's just go with it. It says some flocks of Canada geese can fly nonstop for up to 16 hours. In this time, a flock can migrate as far as 848 miles. So what it wants to know is, what are the average speeds? Okay, well, we know it's 848 miles is our total. All right, we know that we're multiplying a maximum of 16 hours times we don't know what kind of speed. Now, what is the key word in my word problem that helps me figure out what my inequality is going to be? Does anybody see? Okay, so I'm going to read it one more time. Try to listen for a key word. Some flocks of Canada geese can fly nonstop for up to 16 hours. And this time, a flock can migrate as far as 848 miles. Wesley? It's going to be up to. So if it can fly up to, can it go above? Okay, so up to, it can't go more than, so what is going to be my inequality? It has to be less than, right? If it's up to 16 hours, it can't be more than 16 hours. So it has to be less than or equal to 848. Now, solving it is the simple part. S is less than or equal to 53 miles per hour. Obviously, that's like an insane speed for a bird, so it's not very realistic. But your verbal sentences on your homework, guys, here's the hint that I'm going to give you for your verbal sentences. All right? Try to put in like a real life example. All right? So if I told you your parents told you that you could spend no more than $20 at the mall, what inequality is that going to be? If I said no more than $20 at the mall, is it going to, okay, so M is my variable. Does M have to be less than or equal to or greater than or equal to? If it's no more than, if it doesn't have to be any more than, then yes. So if it's 22, then you busted the budget, all right? So it would be M is less than or equal to 20. All right, so plug in some real life examples, all right? Whenever you're reading these, that will help you figure out which inequality sign to use. All right, if you understand that, that's everything you need to know for 3.5.